Randy Rhoads?
About Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Uh,
What you did or
oh,
didn't
what
do?
I did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was 18, I believe. I'll have to look at the calendar. It was January of '82. Yeah, 18, maybe 19. Uh, it was only like the second or third year I was at the. Oh no, I was there for. I started in '79. This is '82. So yeah, I probably was 19. So I got a call, and I had just picked up lunch for the store.
Right.
It was my turn to run, and so I'm covered in rain. I'm all wet. It was cold rain, and I'm kind of crabby. And as soon as I walked in there carrying all the bags, someone said, "Hey, you got a phone call?" So I get the phone call, and it's some guy with a British accent, and I could barely understand what he was saying, and I can barely make out Ozzy Osbourne, and I thought it was just someone pranking me.
Right.
And then he said, no, Bruce Boland mentioned you should call. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, because Bruce,
Right.
was from Gibson at that point. So then I was like, oh, this is for real. So then I'm like, who is this? Oh, okay. So it turned out Randy needed some work done on his tremolos. And I kind of had a reputation at that time of being able to get, conventional style tremolos in tune. So I ended up going to the Rosemont Horizon where the show was, and that was January 24th, '82. And I remember that because it was my older sister's birthday. So, and plus it was historic because it was Randy.
Yeah.
So the first guitar I worked on was his Polka Dot V.
Sandoval.
The Sandoval, yeah. And so I took the tremolo apart, and what I used to do was I'd disassemble the tremolo and I'd countersink the block and the plate on each side and then deburr the saddles. And then I'd put the screws for the vibrato in a hand drill, and I had a triangle file, and I'd file a little notch so it would pivot like a Floyd Rose. But this was before the Floyd Rose, or I've never seen a Floyd Rose at this point. But I got the idea from Leo Fender because on the G&Ls, he had that knife edge pivot,
Right.
which Floyd later used. But I took the cue from Leo Fender on the G&Ls, but I did it on an existing Strat, and then I'd also countersink those 6 screw holes, but I'd only put those 2 screws in. So if you look at his Polka Dot as it still lives today, and on the Jackson Concorde, the white one, his personal one, today, and even when Fender reissued it, like in 11 or 12, whenever that was, they copied my work. So they left out those 4 screws. And then later on, Paul Reed Smith also did that hidden knife edge on his tremolo. But I did it on Randy Rhoads, just as a kid,
Yeah.
because you're,
Figure it out.
you're figuring it out, I mean, I was a kid, I didn't know, but I was learning and I was possessed, and obsessed and all that. And Randy was super, super, super nice guy. I did the Polka Dot one, got it done. They sound checked with it, and they did Mr. Crowley without Ozzy for Soundcheck. It was awesome. Just hearing the band by themselves do that entire number. And then we went back to the dressing room, and then he said, yeah, it stays in tune great, but if you could make it a little slinkier, So then I worked on it, and through the opening band, I don't know who the opening band was. I'd have to look that up because I didn't get to see him.
Right.
Because I was working on his guitar, and I was in the dressing room with him and Rudy and Tommy, and Tommy's hanging over my shoulder. Oh, so what are you doing now? Why are you doing that? He was really cool. Rudy was cool, man. Rudy just had his headphones on, plugged into his, I don't know what device it was, but at that point it was kind of mind-blowing. Like, who could play a bass with headphones, So he had some early device to enable that. And so, before the Rockman even. So that was very cool, and then I got it done, and then they went out and did the show, and the iconic picture off of the tribute album where Ozzy's holding Randy by the leg. Paul Natkin was still is a famous rock photographer. He took that, and I was about from me to you behind him when he took that shot, because I had all access passes. So here I am, right in front of the stage, and Paul Natkin's taking that picture, and it wasn't until probably the mid-'90s when I was talking to Rudy at the NAMM show, and I was saying, why don't you guys, redo that live album, into it? He goes, well, that's what we used on the tribute record. And I go, oh, I didn't realize that was the bootleg, because I was listening to that bootleg on the way to the show. I got it off of, I think it was Dr. Demento or one of those shows, right? So I got a cassette off of that, and that's what I was listening to. And So that became the tribute album. And then he said, and you know that picture on the cover? That's the picture that Paul Natkin took from that Chicago show. And I was like, oh my God, that is just so cool, because I was like 5 or 8 feet behind it. I was right there. And Randy, like I have a rule, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's never smoke around Randy. You hear nothing but, he was just a little angel playing for the Prince of Darkness, right? And that's all a shtick anyway. But Randy, Rudy, the band, and Tommy, they were just, good-hearted people. I'm still great friends with Rudy. I can't say enough good about them and that experience. And to be that young and to be, exposed to something to that level was just huge. I mean, and it kind of, made me understand, like, oh, okay, that whole, Ozzy thing is a shtick, for the most part. And they even said that Ozzy was like dumping buckets of entrails and stuff at the audience. Well, that was made up. I was there. He didn't do that stuff, it was just a bunch of shtick, Yeah, PR stuff. But yeah, I'm very proud to still say Randy was, a huge hero of mine, and very proud of the work I did for him, and very proud that, Rudy and I are still very tight, and it was a great experience. And Ozzy, at that time, when his first 2 solos albums came out, he was the Prince of Darkness. He was the nastiest, rudest man in rock and roll and all that stuff. But you listen to those 2 albums, he's a crooner like Frank Sinatra. He really is. He's a great singer. He has a great sense of melody, and those songs are really, really composed. And Randy's solos are very composed. It's great stuff. And I still say, now you can see family commercials where the family are listening to Crazy Train in a station wagon going down the highway. It's become that, and the reason why is because the music is that. It's very melodic and it's family friendly. Even though it was Ozzy, and all that, it was just great music. So
Thanks
yeah,
for sharing that story.
yeah, great experience.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for your time today.
absolutely. Yeah, man.
We'll get one shot and then we'll let you.